My name is Kathleen Nichols and I'm from Dublin.
My name is Charles Bomick. I come from a place called Calcutta City, which is one of the biggest cities in India.
My name is Mikola Lajszczuk. Everyone calls me Nick.
My name is Maria. I came from Calabria. It's a place near Sicily. But we have to work in hard to grow everything for living. We have to grow wheat, potatoes, vegetables, everything for living. And then make our own bread, because you can't buy with no money, because we're not getting no money. It's a hard work, but I mean, we enjoy it sometimes, especially in the summer when we cut the wheat in June, hot.
No, it wasn't a good childhood. It was, like I say, we were street children and we had to bring ourselves up. Yes, so we didn't have a really good time. Because there was 9 of us in tenements, well, there were the tenements, slums. And there was my brothers in one little room and we were sleeping in the same room as Mum and Daddy. And there was 7 of us in that bed. Cooked on the fire and we had no water, we'd no electric, we'd no gas. So we had to go down about 7 flights of stairs into a yard to get some water. Always cold water, it were never hot water. It were hard, really, but like I said, it's what you accepted, isn't it, in your daily life. We didn't have any clothes, we didn't have any sheets over us, just coats. And we slept on a bed, but it was a tick. And used to fill it with straw. He didn't really have a regular job. My mum used to lay the dead out, and she took me one night with her, and there was this person laid on this bed, and it had 2 pennies on its eyes, and I thought, God, 2 pennies? Never had 2 pennies. So I actually took the pennies off, and my mum had never seen me doing it, but I did it. And then we got home, I got into an awful lot of trouble over doing that. Robbing the dead. But to me, it wasn't robbing the dead, it was 2 pennies. You know what you could get for 2 pennies?
I came from a Hindu family. My parents, fairly wealthy people in our area, and they have managed to raise a bit of money, provided clothes, books, anything I need for me to come to Keighley to study. From Bombay to Southampton. In those days, 3 weeks sailing time it took, which was an unusual experience in my life. I've never been outside Calcutta. For coming to a strange place and very frightening, sailing 3 weeks on a long journey, leaving home. And also I found interesting mixing with people. First time, some strange people never met before.
Originally, my parents were from Ukraine. They came over after the war. In all essence, the reason I'm here in Keighley is that I married a girl from Keighley, moved here, and became involved with the Ukrainian community, having had a lot of history in Bradford at the time. My father was in the army, ended up in Italy, as there was about 9,000 soldiers that came here after the war that didn't want to go back to Ukraine, which was then, after the war, part of the Soviet Union. And it was communist, and no way did my father want to do that. My mother, on the other hand, came as forced labour when the Germans invaded Ukraine. They took the eldest of each family to work on the fields and in the factories in Germany, because their menfolk and women went into the war machine, Hitler's war machine, and therefore they needed the labour. If you didn't go, you either get shot or you just disappear. So it was a no-brainer.
We came because one of my daddy's auntie, she will live already in Keighley. My daddy came over after 6 months. They do a contract for my mum, 2 sisters and myself.
I left home at 15. My daddy took me down to Dunleary, put me on the boat, or a ship, or what I call a boat. Very upsetting because I could see my daddy in the distance and I didn't want to, I wanted to go back home. Oh, my mum and daddy didn't want me to come because it's a foreign country, isn't it? I come over to try and, you know, get a bit of money, because I didn't really want to grow up the way my mummy and daddy were, and people around us were still poverty and hunger, and I just thought I need to make a different life for myself, even though I was only 15. I was the youngest of 9, yeah, and that's when my sister left home. She came over here because they were looking for people to work in this country, in hostels and that, and she came over to work here in the mill, and that's how I came over.
We travelled with a train all the way to Calais, you know, and then after that we get to the boat, and then we got to the other side. The boat had making me feel sick because you know, the way with the water, I was really poorly. I would throw out myself, and I couldn't. But never mind, I managed to get over.
It was a cattle boat. That's what they did, come over on cattle boats. It wasn't a luxury boat. From Dundee to Holyhead, 4 hours, I think it was. That was really rough because it's like I said, it's cattle. They used to bring the cattle over. I'd never been on a big ship in my life. And there were a lot of Irish people on the boats going over to England for jobs, you'd see, which you had to do because there was no work at home.
We ended up sitting in between where they joined the train, because there's no room, no seats. So we're sitting in there like the train coming out. We were thinking, oh my God, we're going to get snapped. And taking nearly 2 days and a half to get to over here. Loads emigrated in that time, yeah. Loads Italian as well, yeah. The summer come in the 50, so I came in 69.
I came winter period, December. I've never seen snow. What is snow like? I've seen on television, or in those days cinema, no television, cinema. Snow, white flakes coming down the sky, from the sky, is something unusual. I used to think, is it cotton wool coming down? What is this snow? Something wonderful, because when we dock Southampton, it was snowing and pretty grim. I came with winter coat prepared by Indian tailor. I put it on nice and be comfortable. It was shivering. 32 in Calcutta temperature, down to -1 in Southampton. It's a big contrast. And arriving Keighley midnight. Keighley, little town, textile town. Population mostly all worked in various textile mill. I was the only brown man arriving in Keighley in those days. I looked like I was a sore thumb standing in the middle of the crowd. The colour they never seen in this town. They were amazed to see brown fellow, young boy in this town.
I thought everybody were dead. It was just so quiet at night. It was frightening because I wasn't used to that. I was used to hustle, bustle. It was horrible. I thought I want to go back home. It was raining. It was miserable. It was a really bad experience for me. Yeah. From the minute I put my foot on the ground, I knew this is, you know, I don't think I want to be here. And I couldn't understand people they had this funny accent. They just saying this funny, by gum lass, and you are a bonny lass and all this. And I think, what is that, you know? And I come home one night crying from the mill. I said to my sister, I'm not going back there. Couldn't understand a word anybody was saying to me.
It's taken me 50 years, maybe, to learn Italian. But I learn maybe because I work with English people as well. So that helped me speaking a bit of English. So eventually, I get improved.
It's only when I come back the second time, I worked in Keighley, and I worked in the mill there, and that's when I started, sort of fell in with everybody, and I could understand the accent by then. And it was hard for them because I spoke really broad Dublin, so it was hard for them as well.
The language was an issue for a lot of our people, and they were looking to sort of group together and keep their history, the culture, and so on. And my father and his other soldier friends that worked in Lincolnshire heard that there was a group of Ukrainian girls in the textile mills here in Yorkshire. My father ended up coming to Yorkshire, meeting my mother, and eventually she had to ask the police for a permit to have him transferred from Lincolnshire to Yorkshire, because at that time, just after the war, you had to go and declare that you are still living at the same address and working at the same place, so you had to get the permission. I remember my mother telling me that she had to go to the chief of police in Bradford and say, you know, can I bring my boyfriend across because we want to get married? And she always used to talk about that.
My elder brother already living in Halifax, and he had some kind of communication with a big company in Keighley called George Hattersley's son, loom maker, a textile industry. That this company were going to sponsor me to come and study here. My apprenticeship started. 1,000 people worked, and they were really hard-working people. And I've been very fortunate to have a training to go around various workshops in my training time, meeting people. They're down-to-earth folk. I'll never forget. Everything about life was terrific in those days and hard.
So we came on a Friday, and we started work on a Monday. And I thought, oh, I've never seen this machine before. And it's a fly spinning, which the big machine along from here to end of the house. So it took me 2 days to learn the job. And after that, I was okay, working there for 2 years. The first mill I worked in Dalton Lane for 2 years. It's a Harrison and Clough, they call it, this mill in Keighley. And I worked there 26 years. Well, it was all machine. You don't see anything there. Different machine, windy, cap spinning, twisting, folding, fly spinning, all different type machine.
When I first went in there that morning, oh, I've never heard out like it in my life. The noise were absolutely horrendous. Because they were all different kinds, spinning and roving, and I'd never ever been in a place like that before. And I thought, no, I can't do this, I won't be able to do that. And one of the bosses came over and took me, and he said, I'm going to put you with this lady to learn you how to do it. Well, wasn't she left-handed? And she learnt me to spin left-handed. And one of the bosses came past one day, and there I was doing whatever. And he said, can I have a word with you? I said, yeah. He said, are you left-handed? I said, indeed I'm not. He said, well, why are you spinning left-handed? I said, because Mary down there showed me.
This mill consists of various workshops, foundry engineering, drilling section, milling section, then fitting department, storage department, and they compile or make looms, spinning machine, textile machine, wrapping machine, all connected to the textile industry. The people, all sorts of age group, and now obviously the first overseas worker been among this crowd. So it was a bit of a novelty for them to having me, and good for me to learn how this thing set up. Everybody used to ask me, is it your real name, or have you adopted something here? And how my name came to being, there was a big surprise. My college friend, school friend used to pick on me, your name cannot be Charles. My dad had a neighbour called Mr. Charles Hills from Stratford-upon-Avon in the United Kingdom. And they were very friendly with each other, my parents. My name therefore came from him. Mr. Charles Hills said, I would like to ask you to carry my name, Charles, for the little boy you have got here. So my name becomes Charles from the day of birth, coming from a Hindu family.
It was a hard life. We, in a way, are still searching for identity here. The sort of very early 50s, there was a hostel at Howden Road, I think it is, at Silsden. They then used to work at textile mills. Some worked in agriculture, some worked in the quarries with the stone yards and so on. But many worked in the textile industry. But eventually, we needed a place of our own. The first Ukrainian centre was on Fleece Street, just off Worth Way. I think it was in 1963. My late wife's father and Mr. Ratic, Mr. Andriashchuk and Peter Shure and one or two others, all of my parents' generation decided that they needed to buy a building. We paid £7,150 for this massive mansion house. 18 months later it was converted to the Ukrainian centre, which became the home for the Ukrainian community. We had choirs and various organisations, and they had a dance group that used to perform at various venues in Keighley. Not only Ukrainian, I'm talking of generally, we took part in the local galas as well.
When we come from Italy, there wasn't no much stuff in the supermarket like now, you know, shells. They have to ask it for stuff. And if you don't know how to speak the language, you don't know how to ask for food.
When I first came over to Keighley, I thought it was a lovely little town, quaint little town. To me, it was just like a little town, not like a home. And it was quite nice, actually. And I found the people quite, you know, quite nice. Nice little shops, nice little places to go to. And then they had the old market, so that was lovely, the old market.
In my 20s, it was around about 1975, 1980. And that town, at that time, that shopping centre at that time was absolutely buzzing with people, because people in Keighley all had employment. And it was we had lots of textiles and engineering, and everyone had a job. And as a consequence, people at the weekends would go out and spend their money in the shopping precinct. Sadly, today, a lot of those industries have gone, and people have moved away in search of work.
There wasn't much work left because the mills, everybody worked in the mills.
Some of the mills closed down completely, don't exist. Industry, Keighley, booming town where textile was the main industry in here, cannot claim that today. We do not have that status, because some of the textile industry now gone to overseas business people.
And there were only like hatted sleeves and emus and some up Halifax Road, but there weren't many mills left. They just sort of faded away somehow or another.
I worked away from Keighley for some years, and when I came back, it was so different.
There's nothing in Keighley anymore. You can just go in and in 5 minutes you've done what you wanted to do in Keighley, where before used to be loads of shops. Yeah, and you go in the market now and there's nothing in the market. It's just sad, really.
Our centre behind Devonshire Park became too big for us to manage. A lot of my generation that studied here, went to university, have moved away from Keighley because there's no work here for them at the level that they want. A lot have gone to Manchester, London, emigrated, which left us having to downsize. So we sold a building in Devonshire, behind Devonshire Park, and we bought a building right in the centre of Keighley, just off Cavendish Street, which is currently the Ukrainian Centre. When we bought it, there must have been 30, 40 people used to come, maybe 50. And now, out of the Ukrainian community, there may be about 5 or 6, 7 that might go once a week.
I became Christian in 1955. From Hindu religion, my family all from Hindu. I was the first one become Christian in my family. I had to write to Mum, ask for consent. And she said, look, son, you are in a different world. You have started life in a place, Keighley, in West Yorkshire. You know the best. Who am I to tell you what you do not want to? You will be wrong. Do your judgment right. See what's best for you to offer. And that's very good advice by my mum. I respect what she said. And I do know everyone has an understanding what is right, what is wrong.
My mother was very talented in embroidery, and she used to go to townswomen's guilds, embroiderers' guilds, soroptimists, and teacher training colleges. But that gift was passed on to my brother and I in due course. But Mum used to come to Keighley virtually every year just before Easter to teach children here how to decorate eggs. We put them in baskets of food, where we take them to church for Easter Sunday, have them blessed, and it's our traditional sort of Easter meal that we have.
Community are my soul and my creation. I feel proud that I had a big part to play with the community today.
Oh yeah, they're nice, friendly, yeah. I like here. I got 2 shops, a corner, a Chinese takeaway if I'm hungry, I have to cook, 2 buses, so I'm okay.
Oh, fine, we're fine here. Yeah, there's quite a few of us still here, but a lot of Pakistans are living around here now. And the lady across the road, she's lovely. She said, if you want me to come over and hang your washing out, I will do for you. Oh yeah, she's lovely, and I've gone over and had a cup of tea with her and stuff. Oh no, I'm not prejudiced. We're never allowed to do that at home.
There is some segregation, separation still exists, and they will continue for many areas. But looking at the reality, there are some good progress being made, and I have a big part to play to bring them together. And that togetherness is a very important factor into the Keighley way of life.
You know, it's not a question of colour, it's not a question of religion, it's a community. You know, and that is what I think Keighley is about. I think each community has in one way or another contributed to what Keighley is about.
Yeah, we're not having that problem, you know, about people. You know, we never said why you're doing in here, or no, it's been nice, like a home.
In life in Keighley will be better if we all join and live harmoniously and happily together.
What I have found is that by keeping together and mixing with the indigenous population of Keighley, we have integrated. We form part of a Ukrainian English community within Keighley that is integrated with all the other nationalities, cultures, religions. After I'd been to Ukraine the first time that I took my father, I gave a talk about my experiences of going to Ukraine and what the climate was like politically and so on. Superintendent from Keighley was sat next to my dad, and I heard him say, "John, what was it like going home?" And my dad said, "Mr. Burke, what do you mean?" He says, "Well, you've been to Ukraine, you've been home." He says, "No, I went home to where I was born, but home is here in England." And he actually turned round and he said, "Mr. Burke, when I came here, stateless, I was privileged that the Queen and the good people of this country gave me refuge. They gave me somewhere to live, to speak freely, to bring up my family and feel that I am free."
I've been very fortunate to live in this town for 65 years. I have enjoyed my life immensely. I have achieved my goal many ways. I've been involved with charity groups, all sections I can see, and raised money for the good causes all throughout my life. I've seen people look at you as an outsider, doing things for good for their own community in Keighley. I hope I left a mark on Keighley town as I lead my life here. I hope I've done my bit to produce a good thing for the community I live with. I hope the community continue live peaceful life in Keighley town for a long time to come. God bless you all.